What up, everyone? Welcome in. Welcome. It is Wednesday. That's right. Yep. T-Bob, good job. It is Wednesday. And this is Snaps, your favorite daily college football podcast. We are back. Good schedule. We're back, boys. Here we are, second day in a row live. As always, youtube.com/@volumesnaps. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify podcasts, whatever, shout out, rate and review it. We love you. But if you ever want to come and hang out live with everybody and you want to come chat, youtube.com/@volumesnaps. So come on and head on over. I'm T-Bob Hebert, one of your hosts. Got my Snaps merch on right now. And I'm joined, as always, by the beautiful and very elven looking today, Aaron Murray. What's up, Aaron? What's happening, bro?
Is it the pointy ears? Is it the pointy ears? Is it the jaw? Like, what is it? It's
a combination of everything. It's a combination of everything. Probably the hair is the least part because you are a little well manicured for like a Tolkien elf, but the still frame from when we left our last show, it always like saves whatever your last look was. And your eyes just had this sort of ethereal quality. They were like floating in between green and brown, maybe like a little hazel type deal. And your ears did look a little pointy. You kind of do have pointy elf ears. I do.
Yes.
Have you heard that before? Am I the first one to ever tell you that?
No, you are definitely not the first to tell me that. Yeah. So this football season, I'll get for Friday. What is it? Saturday nights we do our dress up, break down the games of the weekend. Yes, I'll get my ears on.
Let's see. We got Andy J says Aaron Murray, what a Kirby Smart do to the AJC. I love how like a newspaper reports on stuff that is reportable, and it becomes that newspaper just hates that team. No, look, that's
hit pieces.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, do you want to get into it? Do you want to defend Georgia here? We don't even have it on the rundown today. It's a bit of a greasy story. I didn't know if I want to bring it up. Very serious for this show. An alleged sexual assault having taken place during a recruiting trip, and Georgia still recruited that player. Correct?
Oh, damn. I didn't even see that. I thought I was just more going on like there's been a major beef between the AJC and Kirby for quite some time for some of these pieces about the drinking and driving. Obviously, they went into a big story about that. They're doing their job.
We have a good show.
They are doing their job.
Yeah, the AJC, you mean? Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
they're just doing their job.
I don't want to go off half-cocked and without facts on a story that I saw from an Instagram comment and that somebody linked me on Twitter. So we're not going to do that. All I'll say is that is what is being alleged and or reported by the AJC. I haven't read the article later. I'll read it and I'll deem whether or not it's worthy to talk about. Andy says, not talking about right or wrong, just amazing amount of articles on the home team. I mean, it makes all sense. AJC is a legitimate paper, right? Like, yeah. And not to say that something like the Advocate of Baton Rouge or NOLA.com Times Picayune is not, or don't have great history, or like the Knoxville Sentinel or whatever you got up there in Knoxville. But when you're in a more true college town, the media has to play the game a little more. You have to be a little more subservient to the team. The AJC does not. Like, let's be clear about that. They serve millions upon millions of readers. They can cover Georgia however the hell they want to cover Georgia. Will they piss a lot of readers off? Absolutely. But they don't have to play the game as much as some of these other smaller papers. All right, let's dive right into the show. So we got a few things on the docket today. First off, we have more computer analytics top 25 rankings. Reveal some interesting things again about what the robots are feeling. We'll head out to the Pac-12, talk a little Coach Prime, really Pac-12 recruiting, and maybe just looking at some of the facts behind some of the mythos surrounding Prime recruiting and what's actually going on right now. Then might be a little Stanford talk in today. And then imagine this, the NCAA is fighting NIL once again, saying that schools have to obey the NCAA over state laws. We'll see. And I have a Corn Hub kernel of the day. Greg Hendrick, sorry I missed yesterday's live. Was in meetings late. It's okay, Greg. We forgive you. We've been, pretty all over the place as well. So let's dive right in, Aaron. The Athletic, which if you're a college football fan, you should subscribe to theathletic.com. It's wonderful. One of their writers, Austin Mock, has created his own system like Connolly or, any of these other analytics lovers. He's created an equation where he takes play-by-play data from every single game last year. He factors in returning production, recruiting rankings, transfer. He simulates thousands of seasons. And then, what is printed out is a top 25. And it has all kind of stuff like percentages of chance to win the conference, average number of wins per simulated season. I don't really care as much about that. What is clear is that a few things have emerged. One of which in this system, there are 3 different tiers. UGA head and shoulders above everybody at number 1. Yep. Then you have your second tier, which are Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. And then 5 through 12 gets pretty interchangeable. What jumped off the page to me, though, Aaron, and where I get a bit concerned here is this is now the second or third time we've done one of these exercises with simulations. And the robots seem to love the Alabama Crimson Tide much more than us humans do. Of course, Georgia won on this athletic mock, but Alabama right there at number 2, ahead of Michigan, ahead of Ohio State. And yet as humans, we're saying that LSU should beat them and win the West, and Alabama should lose 2 games, hell, maybe even 3 games. And I'm just getting concerned because as I talked about the other day, Nick Saban doesn't have to worry about rat poison. He has actual bulletin board material. He has someone who hasn't just challenged his greatness, but has surpassed him in Kirby Smart. And he now has a more local threat in Brian Kelly, who people are rushing to crown the new king of the West. I hate it. Everybody's counting Nick Saban dead, and the computers are saying, not so fast. This team is still actually better than yours.
Yeah, Herbstreit. I saw something with Herbstreit yesterday where he kind of said the same thing, very colorful on Pat McAfee's show of essentially we're all doubting Nick Saban. That's essentially the stupidest thing you could do. Like to think that we can count out Nick Saban in Alabama. They're not going to come out there and be the Alabama that they've been for the past decade plus is silly. It's naive. It's going to happen. That's
you though. That's you though. You've been the one saying it.
Well, once again, I'm not saying. There's 2 things. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm not saying this isn't going to be a top 5, top 10 team at the end of the day. I don't think they're good enough to win a national championship for one particular reason. They don't have a quarterback that I believe in right now. And I don't know, these AI bots obviously didn't watch the spring game or see the fact that they had to go to the transfer portal to bring in another quarterback. That is the position. I talked about it yesterday with Michigan. If you don't have a quarterback, I don't care that you got a bunch of 4- and 5-star guys on both teams. I don't care you got more blue chip guys on both sides of the football than anyone else in the country. If you don't got QB1, you will not win a championship. You will get far. You will be a really good team. You will compete to win your side of the SEC. Hell, you could get to Atlanta, but you will not hoist a national championship trophy at the end of the day without a gunslinger back out there making plays from the quarterback position. They don't have that. And that's why I'm down on them. And that's why I think they're a 10-2 team, which is still a really good football team, but just not up to Alabama standards.
So, first off, great job telling the robots to watch the film. I agree.
Yeah.
Watch the fucking film, you stupid robotic nerds. Secondly, so you're just completely out in that QB room. You don't think Ty Simpson could be that guy. We don't think it's going to be Milroe. If it is Buckner, then I agree. It's not Milroe. If it is Buckner, then I agree with you. He feels like a known quantity. That's a limited Alabama team. I still think there's a world out here where Simpson, but I didn't watch the spring game, to be fair. But I feel like there's still a world out here where Ty Simpson could be that good guy. And if he is good, then that Alabama team could be great.
But once again, yes, they have 4- and 5-star receivers, but once again, watch the film from last season.
Yeah.
They were just good. They weren't elite. So even if say Ty Simpson is just a good quarterback, say he's a 25-5, 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, efficient. That's a great season. It's a hell of a season, especially in the SEC for a first-year quarterback. He doesn't have playmaking receivers on the outside that I could say today is, once again, same thing I talked about the quarterbacks, anything like they've had over the past decade. Alabama has been dominant for a few reasons. One, obviously, is Nick Saban. 2, they've been really good at receiver from Julio Jones on down the line. I mean, they are flooded with NFL talent at the receiving position. They've also been elite at the running back position. Some of the best running backs in the NFL went to Alabama. Obviously, they had elite defensive guys. They got elite defense this year. I'll give them that. They got an elite defense. They got a good offensive line. They got a bunch of 4 and 5 star running backs that right now I don't know if those guys are ready to be a 1,500-yard running back. They got some good receivers. I wouldn't say any of those guys are first or second round draft picks right now. And then they got a good quarterback. Like, they're not elite at the positions they've been elite in the past decade, which has helped them win championships. It's a different game too. This isn't, Alabama, LSU, 2010, 2011, where you're going to win a game 10-7. This isn't like, yes, your defense may be one of the best defenses in the country, but you're going to have to score 30, 40, 50 points to win some of these football games to win a championship. Plain and simple. You're just going to have to. And they don't have those horses on the offense.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
Or at least proven. Now
I'm all not proven. Exactly. That's a little bit of my issue. Not proven. I agree with you. Yes. I feel like I was a little over cocky and maybe I'm just paranoid, but now my fear, I'm just like a little bit like, oh shit. I don't like it. I just don't like it. I'd rather everybody pumping him up. But whatever. I don't want to talk about Alabama anymore. Georgia's 1, Alabama 2, but checking in at number 3, the Michigan Wolverines, validating in some way some of our conversation from yesterday. We talked about aiming high. Mm-hmm. They're clearly aiming out to beat UGA. They want to win a national championship. That's the best way to do that. And to me, this feels like Michigan's year where they have to take the next step forward or they're going to take a step back for a couple of years potentially because they have so much returning to production, 5th in the country, like we talked about yesterday. But even past Michigan, how about Penn State, man? The computer's loving Penn State, coming in at number 5 in the country, ahead of schools like LSU, Tennessee, Texas, Florida State, USC, right behind their counterparts of Michigan and Ohio State. For Penn State, Aaron, you can speak on this. It feels like it all comes down to Drew Allar, the new 5-star quarterback.
Yep. Oh, it's all up to him. I mean, this is a team built to at least split possibly one of those games between Michigan and Ohio State. And I kind of feel like, Ohio State could be that game. I mean, you look at last year's, both those games, Michigan ran for over 400 yards versus Penn State. Michigan now has what you want and kind of have re-identified themselves as a football team. They're going to be more physical. They're going to dominate the line of scrimmage. That's who they're going to be against this year. They're going to be great in the line of scrimmages. They're going to be one of the best offensive lines in the country. They got one of the best running backs in the country. They got an athletic quarterback. They should dominate. Michigan is my team, and I love the fact that they're number 3 in this ranking right now. I think they're the team to beat in that conference. I think they take care of business versus Ohio State. I think they take care of business versus Penn State. Penn State can take advantage of – I'm just focused on the Big Ten here. Let's take a break now.
My bad.
Penn State needs to take advantage of Ohio State being possibly down this year when it comes to questions at quarterback. And I know you are all about look at the track record. Let's not doubt, what Ryan Day has been able to do at the quarterback position. But the same thing when it comes to Alabama and Ty Simpson. For me, I know how tough it is to play quarterback position. I know how tough it is to play your first season. And to know that you're going to have to play a really good team in Penn State. You're going to have to play a really good team in Michigan. And to think that guy's going to be an All-American type guy in year one to have that success, I'm not buying it right now. Until I physically see that guy go out there and just dominate football games, I think Michigan obviously is that team to beat. And Drew Allar still has to go prove himself as well.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
What he looked like last year during times. Yeah. I'm a little bit more confident seeing him play a little bit last year, knowing that, okay, I can see that talent. I haven't necessarily seen it from those Ohio State guys besides the spring game.
And look, because I can't help myself. Yeah, look, like Penn State's defense should be great. Rush attack, great. We'll see. They haven't beaten Ohio State in 6 years. I mean, Michigan in 2. James Franklin needs to, he's not going to get fired or anything, but if it's like a presidential approval rating, he needs to win one of those big ones. This is too unfair of an expectation to put on Penn State, but it feels like their fans are going to want 11-1 with a playoff berth, or at least like an 11-1 regular season, because they went 10-2 last year and they were kind of pissed.
Yeah,
they were happy, but not like fully happy. And also to close this out, the computer conversation, I have to get my shots in. Texas comes in number 8 on this list. If you look at everyone else, I mean, look at how many games did Georgia win last year, Aaron? How many games did Georgia win last year? 15. Alabama won what, like 13, Michigan 12. Like, go down the list. Everybody won double-digit games except for the Texas Longhorns. So once again,
they get A&M at 15, who won 5 games.
Well, you know how I feel about them as well. Okay. But my point is, if Steve Sarkisian doesn't win 10 games, rip the Band-Aid off, he has to be fired. He has to.
Yeah.
I know you don't agree. And I'll give him 10 with a bowl game if you want. But it's an absolute joke if he does not, because everybody, all the data says they should.
You are not going to fire him if they win 9 games with a bowl game. So 8 regular with 9 a bowl game. You are not going to fire him as you get ready to head into the SEC. You're not.
I know you're a coward. Give him 1 year in the SEC. Well, you're good. You're just going to keep.
You know what spot I do like on this one? You know what spot I do like? I like Clemson at 13. Clemson's going to be a team. Clemson. I think that's a good spot for them. I think Clemson's a 10 through 15 team this season only because they're in the ACC. You put Clemson in the SEC, you put Clemson in the Big Ten, hell, you put Clemson in the Pac-12. They're an 8-4 football team. 8-4 football team. The only reason Clemson is even in the top 15 or will end the season in the top 15 is because they're in the worst conference in America. Clemson is not an elite football team this season. Clemson's a good football team that will be in a position to win their conference because their conference is shit. And that's it.
We'll see, man. I still hold. If I'm a Clemson fan, I'm really latching on to the Riley hire to an unrealistic degree and just hoping that can unlock something. Shadow Bearded says, as a Texas fan, I don't see Sark getting fired before the SEC move. Shadow Bearded, as a Texas fan, I want you to answer, what are your expectations? Because I'm sorry, Texas fans, I hope you're all listening to me. I'm sorry that I want better for you than you want for you, okay? You're in an abusive relationship right now. You committed to the wrong man, and it's hard, okay? I understand it is hard to accept these truths, but that's why sometimes you need an outside voice to come in and kind of show you that, okay? So throughout this offseason, I've been showing you that, and I will continue to do so. And at the end, when I am proven correct, maybe then we can have the conversation about you moving out. Or you know what, better yet, let's move him out, okay, Texas fans? I got you, boo. Don't worry about that. Shadow Bearded says, I expect 10-2, rooting for 12-0. Wouldn't it be surprising 9-3? Look, if he goes 9-3, I'll give it to him. If he goes 9-3 and then wins a bowl game, get 10 wins, which he's never done before as a head coach, I'll give it to him. All right. Nothing else on this list. Auburn at 20. Okay. Kind of interesting. You know, they do have a lot of talent. Missouri 22. That's a little intriguing. Poor Paulie Walnuts. Notre Dame down at 17. Looks like the Brian, you lose Brian Kelly and it just all goes to shit, dude. What are you going to do, dude? All right. On to the Pac-12. There's an article in The Atlantic today that's talking about Pac-12 recruiting, and it kind of points something out about Coach Prime, which is obviously right now there's a ton of hype around Colorado. We just spoke on AMP how when you talk about Colorado and Coach Prime right now, like you do numbers, like shows you. Like it's like a, LeBron GOAT conversation or something along those lines. It just gets the people going. And so it's very easy to get hyped about Colorado, but what does the actual 2023 class look like, right? The first full class for Deion. And further review maybe says there's a little bit to be desired. USC and Oregon clearly remain the top tier of the class, like just separated from everybody else, which again makes what Whittingham and Utah does so impressive every single year. But when you look at Colorado, Aaron, 48th in the country, 5th in the Pac-12. They do have one top 100 recruit. They got 3 4-stars, but like it's a little, it like when you actually look at it, those rankings feel slower than how we've talked about him as of late.
Yeah, well, you know who else is off to a slow start, and I can't even find them on this damn list, is Alabama. So like let's simmer down on you're off to a slow start.
On the 2023, you're talking about? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about you're talking about 2024. I'm talking about 2024.
No, sorry. 2024. Sorry, you're right. Yeah.
Yes, 2024. Alabama right now has 8 commits. Obviously, 3 of them are 5 stars, so it's a little bit different than Colorado. But I mean, I think we're a little bit too early in this cycle to start, freaking out that someone is falling behind when it comes to recruiting. I do agree though with the sentiment. Like there has to be at some point for these recruits of, okay, I'm starting to sip the Kool-Aid a little bit. I love Coach Prime. I love what he's selling. I love the mentality. I love the campus, everything about Colorado. But I just want to see wins now. It's still, at the end of the day, it's a team that went 1-11, and just from my experience as being a guy with stars coming out of high school, I mean, when I came into Georgia was the number 1 team in the country. And that was I took that as pride, man. I told everyone, like, man, I just committed to the number 1 team in the country. Like, if you're a 4 and 5 star guy, you really don't want to, really tell your friends, well, I just committed to Colorado. They're the worst fucking team in America. Like that, no, you're one of the best players at your position in America. You want to commit to the big boys. So you want to see, can Prime turn this team in a year to a 500 team? And then all of a sudden, okay, well, maybe now he's 6-6. If I come with some other top guys, then maybe we put them to a 8-win team, a 9-win team. I also think there's a lot of question marks too, T-Bob, about where Colorado is going to be in a year.
And like, I mean, look, and there's like, will Dion have a foot? Like, I mean, these are the questions. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, look. The latest reporting is that Prime's foot is not at risk overall of being amputated, and he is having the surgery to straighten his toes. No, okay, but so you're exactly right, Aaron. It seems like recruits are saying we just want to see it proven on the field, but here's the problem. 5-7 would be a really good season for Colorado, actually. Like, it's tough to find. So, but will an 18-year-old appreciate that nuance? You know what I'm saying? Like, will an 18-year-old be impressed with 5-7 the same way that us, we think we're so intellectual, we just know everything about, 5-7, that's very good, Colorado. Like, an 18-year-old will be like, that's shit, dude. Yeah, I don't want to go there. So, we'll see how it plays out over time. Pegleg Prime, says Brum in the chat.
I still think, Prime needs to continue when you're at a place like Colorado.
Captain Prime.
That has not had success. You have to have success in the portal. Like that to me, that's his bread and butter for the next 2 seasons. It's he dominated the portal this offseason, completely rebuilt his team. Do that again, and then get a couple, get a handful of big time high school kids where you're continuing to build the right way. But right now, it's the cheat code. The transfer portal is a cheat code for like Prime, because he can recruit and he can sell, and he can get into the portal and turn the program around in 2-3 years.
Colorado's like a mountainous Ole Miss, right? Ole Miss has fully accepted we're not going to build through the high school. Like, we'll get some high school, but ultimately the portal will be the base instead of the other way around. Colorado's probably stay that same way. Before we move on from Pac-12 recruiting, though, buried within this is a little bit about Stanford. Stanford entered June, Aaron, with just 4 commits. They now have 25 commits. That places them in the top 15. Now this is
how 3 stars, baby. A lot of big time 3 stars.
Okay, well, you're okay. Chill the fuck out. First off, that's very disrespectful. Okay, because our entire kernel of the day today is centered around a 3-star. Okay, so shows the fuck respect, and of course it is. Stanford's coming from shit, right? My point is, they're not going to finish in the top 15 because of what you just said, right? Like, a lot of that ranking is because they just have so many guys, but that's pretty good momentum for new head coach Troy Taylor. And you're like, who the fuck is Troy Taylor? That's exactly what I said. But tell me if you don't. Okay, Mr. Scoff Elf Boy. Tell me if you don't get a little intrigued here. Okay, he's a former Cal quarterback from 86 to 89. He left Cal as the school's all-time leading passer. Okay, played in the NFL for a little bit. He's coaching all around the country. He's Utah's offensive coordinator for 17 and 18. Then he gets the job as the head man at Sacramento State. He takes over a 2-8 team They go 9-4 the next year. He wins the Eddie Robinson Award, which is FCS National Coach of the Year. Over the next 3 seasons, he goes on to be Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year 3 years in a row, 2022 AFCA Regional Coach of the Year. All I'm saying is Troy Taylor feels like one of those guys, not a sexy name, but a sneaky, intriguing resume when it comes to Stanford. And apparently he runs an elite offense. Like he runs a modern, pretty dangerous offense. And they got the big 4-star, what's his name, Elijah something. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to spend too long on Stanford, but I'm just laying the groundwork for me being like, I was fucking right if Stanford and Troy Taylor ends up being good, because I'm a little intrigued by what I just read. What?
Where do they end up if more realignment happens? What happens to them?
Oof.
Are they enticing to the Big Ten?
I'm not smart enough to know, dude. I don't think.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, do you think the Big Ten would look at them and want? Yeah, they do academically.
Is Stanford NorCal?
Obviously, I think Oregon, Washington would be the first two. Like, if the Big Ten said we need 20 teams, so we need 4 more. Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal. Would you after those 2 next? If you needed 20, nice even 20.
Sure. I can't. I don't know. I mean, sure. Stanford does. See, the problem is, I don't know. Like, are they making these decisions based on TV markets and just purely trying to exploit that and get into more regions? Or does something like the prestige of Stanford come into play? Because, like, surely that's also what Taylor's selling on the recruiting trails. Like, come here, play a great offense. I fucking know offense. I played quarterback, and get a Stanford degree. Bro, you're hating on Troy Taylor. You just wait, dog.
Listen,
look, all I'm saying is,
a great sell. Like my mom, like, almost forced me to sign a letter of intent to go to Stanford. Like, yes. Just was big on it.
But my other point here is, like, when I see awards like this, I don't just throw them out the window because somebody said Big Sky Conference isn't real. Okay, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, we can all only be the best at whatever silo we're in. He was the best in the Big Sky all 3 years in which he was there. We give Prime all the credit in the world for being so good in the HBCU level, right? Like, so just show a little respect to TT. That's all I'm saying, baby.
Speaking of that, I do want to ask you this, because this is, since we're on that topic of lesser conferences and not lesser conferences, I'm pulling up the tweet right now, but this was a little tweet from RJ Young. Coach Prime went 27-6 in his first 2.5 years as head coach. 2 double-digit win seasons, 2 conference titles, 2 national title game appearances. Dabo went 20-15 in his first 2.5 years. 0 ACC titles, 0 double-digit wins, no national championship appearances. That's got to be a stupid joke, right? So like that's along this conversation, though, of it's 2 very different conferences, 2 very different schedules, and completely different when it comes to the talent on the football field. How do you compare SWAC to Pac-12 and then HBCU to an ACC team? Like, you can't do it.
Yeah, look, yes. What I am saying is not what that guy's saying, right? I'm not saying that Deion's going to be better than Dabo Swinney on the Power 5 level because he won more on the HBCU level than Dabo saying. All I'm saying is you can only win the race that you're entered in, okay? Deion did it in the HBCU. Troy Taylor did it in the Big Sky. And so that's how you get your big chance. That's how, and now in Taylor, you have a NorCal kid back there. So he like knows the culture and everything. Okay, we'll see. I don't, again, TT baby, right here. Okay. Me, TT Bob, call me that. God, NCAA and NIL. Here we go again. Are we bored with this yet? I guess we should have talked about this before the show, because I know we're still into it. Is the audience where, like, you were talking about looking at all the analytics from YouTube? We need to figure out from the numbers, do people actually give a fuck about the NCAA fighting the NIL?
ESPN told us last year we had our big function, conference, whatever, come together for before the season starts, and they did list off, like, what do people care most about when it comes to college sports. And NIL was dead ass last. So
see, exactly. I mean,
that was last year.
It's like, are we, bro?
But is that more of like NIL? Like, I don't give a damn that so and so got a deal with, the local restaurant, Or I do think this is a bigger issue that people do care about when it comes to state laws versus the NCAA. And if the NCAA comes down on these schools, does a state step in and say, sorry, but our laws dictate that they're allowed to do this? I think, to me, that is interesting compared to, once again, your quarterback getting a local deal with, your Ford dealer.
No, like, of course I don't give a fuck about who's ever advertising with the kid, right? Yes. I also don't really give a fuck at all about how much anybody's making anymore. Like, and nobody does. No, all people want to do is make sure the players go to their school, right? And I feel this may be more interesting than those things, but I just almost feel like I can feel the digital eyes glazing over as I read. The association has been clear and maintained that schools must adhere to NCAA legislation when it conflicts with permissive state laws. So here's the deal. NCAA is saying, regardless of what your state law says, you have to follow our rules because you have already opted in to agree to play by these same rules as everybody else. Now, this is a bit interesting when you think about something like drug testing, right, Aaron? Yep. Smoking weed's legal in Colorado, and yet you'll still get in trouble if you're a player on the Buffs and you get caught smoking weed by the NCAA. Like, you can lose a year of eligibility. So we already do have some precedent for laws being at odds with NCAA rules and the NCAA rules being followed. I guess it just changes when it comes to compensation. And that's all this is showing me, is that it's coming to a head. This idea of eventually in court, it's going to have to be settled as to whether or not the NCAA can control athlete compensation in any form. And the state laws are probably pointing towards no, because in some of these state laws, it's literally specifically written out that at times when the two are at odds with one another, the state law says you have to ignore the NCAA and follow state laws. The NCAA say the exact same thing. It's a shit show that probably ends with the NCAA losing in court, if I had to guess.
You think it'd get that far? I guess it has to.
I mean, it has to.
I'm interested in how this plays out, because there are states, the two big states that are kind of leading the charge when it comes to NIL is Oklahoma and Texas. They are essentially making it legal for a donor to get benefits through the university by giving towards NIL. So if I'm X donor, I give $100,000 to this fund that supports Texas players. I could get X amount of points that can give me access to better tickets, to games, to access to away games, to
makes sense,
merchandise, whatever it is. Like, you get more. And the NCAA is essentially saying, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can give money, but there's no benefit that can come directly from the school because of that. So if Texas says, you know what, screw you, our laws say we can, and if this donor wants to give me $1 million and we're going to give him a shitload of points and he's going to be able to go to whatever football game he wants to and get front row seats and shit, we'll put him on the damn field and maybe let him call a play for winning. Like, what happens at that point? Does the NCAA void games? Do they not allow you to participate in postseason activity? It's just, to me, the NCAA is going to have to do something. They're going to have to act. They've been all talk. They're going to have to act.
Yeah, and they're going to have to act because literally this is a quote from A&M AD Ross Bjork, quote, "The state law is going to govern how we do business. We will continue to communicate with the NCAA on a variety of matters, but in terms of this, the state law will reign." I'm not a fucking lawyer. That's a middle finger, though. And so I don't know if they do lose this case. Is this actually the first crack that starts to, cause the entire thing to come tumbling down? Okay, boys, here we go. I mean, are we, until something like Ikemi Obi in the chat. Nah, I'm telling you, we don't care about NIL. Brum, do you want to weigh in on this? Should we make an official snaps ruling on NIL unless it's like a story-ass story?
I'm not
we
there
can do
yet.
It off air as well. Okay, you're not there yet. You're not there yet. Okay.
I'm not there on making a call just yet, but it's in the back of the mind for sure.
And it's funny, even before the show today, I'm like reading it, I'm writing this stuff out, I'm like all excited. And then it was like when I went to, it's like the same realization that I need Texas fans to have, right? That he's not for you. When I went to act like the next time Sark goes to sleep with you, and when he enters you and you're once again like, this is just not enjoyable for me, I eventually have to say something like, that's how it felt for me with NIL right now, just a little bit. The same old, just just kind of like wrote, like, I just need a break. Okay. I need to spice it up a little bit with a Corn Hub Kernel of the Day, because nothing gets people more excited than the number one recruit in the state of Montana committing to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. How about it, baby? Legacy commit. Wide receiver Quinn Clark of Bozeman, Montana, becomes Matt Rule's 20th commitment, 6'5", 190. His dad rushed for over 3,000 yards in the late 80s for the Huskers. Flash the Corn Hub symbol, boys, because it's time. The number one recruit in Montana's in the bag.
Wow. Yeah, was this why you're getting mad at me? Because I was like, they have a bunch of 3-star guys committed.
Well, yes, he is a 3-star, but he's also the number one recruit in Montana. Okay. So again, we can only do our best in our own silo, and nobody has been better at Montana high school football than my guy, Quinn Clark. Beautiful state, Montana, as well. Last time
they got another Montana kid, Keelan Smith, tight end.
Bro,
6'3", 205.
They play good football. They play good football in Montana.
Great football.
Go Grizz. I don't think Montana has speeding laws, which is always fucking tight. Or which seems kind of crazy. I think you can just you just drive as fast as you want. How about that? You don't believe me, do you?
Don't get Georgia players too excited when they transfer to Montana.
That's what Montana needs to start recruiting to. It's try to poach the bottom of Georgia's roster. Be like, boys, we don't have speeding laws up here. I mean,
if you want to come drive fast, come on, boys. Just don't hit a fucking, deer.
Thomas Dare says, "Damn, you can do as much meth as you want." No, not amphetamine, not that kind of speed. Speeding on the roads. Side note: how is corn kernel and the word military colonel pronounced the same? Absolutely fucking cannot. It doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, Aaron. I think that's going to do it for. Oh, well, hold on. Cody Brunet says, I don't care what kind of deal anybody gets. I care more about laws or rules that can happen to change the way it is right now. Okay. So look, maybe there's still some meat left on that bone. No, I agree. I look, maybe I'm just being insecure. Okay. That could be it as well. Like, obviously, but I don't know. It just kind of feels like a bit of a circular conversation. But then again, what did True Detective season 1 teach us? What is life but a flat circle? Yeah. And you know what? I'm fucking racing as fast as I can around this thing, and we're going to keep it going with another brand new episode of Snaps tomorrow. We talk what? More college football. So a huge thank you to Ryan Brumley, Pat Gunther, Adam Gracia, Danny Cardenas, Paul Farrington. Huge thank you to you, Aaron Murray, to the Volume for having us here. The biggest of all thank yous to everybody who listens and shares the show with their friends. Please, trying to grow the channel. Just hit 1,000, the road to 2,000. I'm going to keep hammering it until we get those subs, and then I'm going to keep hammering it more. So youtube.com/@Volume Snaps. Everybody's doing such a great job with all the shorts, the videos broken out. If you don't want to listen to the whole show, and again, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please rate it and review it. That really helps us. Boys, we are less than 70 days till football season. Okay. You know what it's almost time to start doing, Aaron? Watching the film. To kind of re-enter our toes into the
film
water.
Going around SEC Media Days. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
If you're going to be in Nashville, the boys will be in Nashville. So who knows? Maybe we get a little Snaps meetup or something going on. All right, Aaron, take it easy, man. You have a great day. And we'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Snaps.